One, I'm KB and I'm back. I see Susan and a lot of other faces who came to the first meeting we had when we presented the concept plan. So I just have to say, use the word that we came back. So thank you all for coming. And before we start, since this being a hybrid meeting, I just want the first slide to be up regarding the ground rules. I was asked to go over that first, please. The first slide. The, thank you. It says Zoom meeting controls. Here you go. So I'm requesting people who have joined us online using Zoom to please mute the microphones and turn the cameras off, because in order to reduce the bandwidth for tonight's meeting, if you turn on the video, your video camera, then it kind of like affects the bandwidth. So there could be a number of people who could be joining on Zoom. So that will help. And thank you. And then there are two project presentations today, one for Flower Avenue, my project, and then also a new project which will be introduced as part of BIPA, Piney Branch Road, which I will go through in depth. So we have two presentations and this is a hybrid meeting. So let us do our presentation, the slides which we have. I'll go first for Flower Avenue, then followed by my colleague, engineer Yasmin Smiley. And then at the end of each presentation, you can ask questions. So just hold on to the questions till the end. And then how people who joined us on the Zoom, how they can ask question is by raising the hand. On the right hand side bottom, I think on the Zoom screen, you will have the reactions icons in which you can pick up the hand and raise the hand. And Lori Main is the coordinator for our Zoom control meetings. So you can send your comments and questions in chat messages to Lori, and she will respond. People who have joined using their phone onto this meeting, *9 is to raise the hand if you have anything to ask, and *6 to unmute yourself. *9 is to raise hand, and *6 to unmute yourself. So these are some Zoom controls. With that, let me start with introductions. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Khurshid Bilgrami, also known as KB. I work for MCDOT. I'm the project engineer for Flower Avenue separated bike lanes project. And tonight we have my design team of two professional ladies here, Carrie Casto, and then Uma at the back. And they are with a consulting company called Stantec, very competitive, very professional. And then we also have, of course, our second team who's doing the project on Piney Branch Road, Miss Yasmin Smiley, and then supervisor of both of us, Mr. Dan Sheridan, who is at the corner there. He is our boss, manager at the DTE, Division of Transportation Engineering, as part of DOT in Montgomery County. And anybody else? We have a park and planning staff also. And thank you so much for joining us. And with that, I think I'm going to start just go through again that these two projects, my project on Flower Avenue and Piney Branch Road, as part of a program called BIPA. BIPA stands for Bicycles and Pedestrians Priority Areas, in which a geographic area in Montgomery County is selected to enhance bicycle and pedestrian connectivity and safety. Montgomery County has like 34 BIPAs, and this happens, Long Branch is supposed to be one part of it. So as part of it, we have put together the projects. So let's begin with the Flower Avenue separated bike lanes project presentation. Next slide, please. So tonight agenda is just the project background, how it evolved and all that, and then what the existing conditions are on Flower Avenue between the project limits, and how we came up with different scenarios, alternates to improve Flower Avenue in terms of installing bike lanes and also carrying on other enhancements, and then how we developed options, and then how we reached here by choosing one of the preferred alternate and then proceeding towards the design. And since the project is proceeding towards the design, since this is my second meeting here with the community, I'm here with 35% design completion. So you might be thinking, okay, what is the schedule like? So we'll have one of the slide and discussions about that. And at the end, we'll have questions. With that, let's go to the project background, the first slide. This is just a life of a transportation project in DOT, including our BIPA bike lane projects. It goes through three phases. First phase is facility planning, and the second is facility planning phase 2, and then the design completion and the final design and construction. Now, with my project, as part of phase 1, we have already crossed that threshold. We collected the data, we came up with 3 concepts, came to the community in May, we presented, we got comments from several of you as well as other agencies. So we selected a preferred alternate, and then we proceeded with the design. So that kind of put us in of the facility planning. That's where we are. Now, if you look at the slide, phase 2, before we complete the design, it goes through mandatory referral with park and planning, and also we submit to the county executive, and it goes through the county council. And then once the funding is assured, when it gets approved from the council and the county exec, then it goes to the final design and construction. Next slide, please. Just a background, those of you who are new, who has not attended our previous meeting when we presented the 3 concepts. So the project background, I have a couple of slides. This is my project is Flower Avenue, north of Piney Branch Road, all the way up to Arliss. This has an approximate length of 1,056 feet, which comes to 0.2 miles. It's just like 1 block, you might say that. So why did we select this as a starting? Next slide, please. That is the approved bicycle network, which we have in this area. So as you can see, my project limit, the one which I just mentioned, is highlighted in orange. And then you have the purple line bike project. And then I also have another colleague of mine who will be doing the next presentation, bicycle project on Piney Branch Road. And another colleague, which he could be attending this meeting on Zoom, he's doing the project on Kerala Avenue, which is also highlighted. So this is all interconnected, and it will all come together. It will have access to the purple line as well as to the surrounding trails all the way up to Sligo Creek Park. Next slide, please. So the reason why this project was also put together was because the East Silver Spring master plan and the Long Branch sector plan calls for improvement in the cyclist safety and access in the Long Branch area, Flower Avenue and all that, which kind of like includes bicycle lanes on Flower Avenue. That is why this project as a start was selected, and then doing this 0.2 mile long as our first project. Now, along with this project, most of you guys are local, so you know that other improvements are needed as well in terms of improving ADA access, sidewalk, And then the parking situation. So before start of the project, we had a walkthrough with the community members, and we were told that parking, on-street parking, is very important because of commercial establishments and all that. So we took that into consideration when we developed alternates and then concept plans. And I think the most of the community and other people who have reviewed all the three concepts provided me comments. Thank you for it. I think majority of them selected alternate one because the concept one alternate plan was adding more on-street parking. I think if I remember correctly, 9 parking spaces. And so along with this, transit access, there are right-on bus stops, which will be improved and all that, which I will go through the following slides. So that's the project background. So let's look at some existing conditions, what we have on Flower Avenue. So the Flower Avenue, within my project limits, there are 2 different sections like we are broken up with. From Piney Branch Road to Urban Park, the right of way is kind of limited. And then it's approximately like 50 feet. And then the road width is 49 feet. So it's pretty much being used. And then between the park and Arliss, we have 71 feet, but it varies. It goes between 60 and 90. It plays out. I'm just giving you an average number. And then the road width at the same token is only 40 feet wide. And there are 2 ride-on bus stops, one on each side, and then there's future Purple Line station, and then you have overhead street lights, which are attached to the existing utility poles. There are 15 of them on the east side, and I think 12 on the west side. Next slide, please. The important aspect, like I said, the on-street parking is only available at the current conditions from Piney Branch Road up to the park on one side at least, or on both sides with some conditions. But between the park and Arliss Streets, there is no on-street parking. And then in terms of traffic control, we have, of course, we all know that there is a traffic light controlling the intersection operation of at Piney Branch and Flower, and then Arliss is another street intersecting Flower Avenue, which is stop control. Arliss at Flower Avenue is a free flow condition. Arliss comes to a stop. The sidewalk, it varies in the commercial section on the east side. But the only thing which I wanted to point out that the residential side on the west side, their existing sidewalks are really narrow. It's 4 feet. It's less than what our standard calls for. So that's what we looked at. We did the survey. We collected the traffic volumes, including cyclists and pedestrians in the who are using the roadway. We collected the data in September 2022. The ADT was around 12,000 plus or minus 11,850 to be exact. So the existing conditions, like I said, Flower Avenue gets wider as it goes south towards Piney Branch. It becomes 44, but at the northern, at Arliss, it starts with 40 because we are opening up to one additional lane, a left turn lane to go on Piney Branch Road. So that's the existing conditions. So alternate developments. So we, after collecting all this data and doing all the surveys, we came up with 3 concepts. We came to the community and presented those 3 concepts, and also shared with other agencies such as Park and Planning, City of Tacoma Park, Maryland State Highway Administration, and a few others. So we got comments and we thoroughly evaluated them. And then the good thing was majority of the comments preferred concept 1, What are those concepts? I will go through them in the slides, following slides. Let's next slide, please. So the three design alternates that were developed, two were buffered bike lane on each side with a buffer. One option which was acquiring right of way from the private properties, doing the road widening, with creating additional on-street parking was chosen. And the second alternate was not going through road widening and acquiring the right of way, but it was also not creating on-street parking spaces, but was taking away a couple of parking spaces from on-street. That is why I think the community and the people who has reviewed and commented did not choose that option. The third option was a cycle track option, which is a two-way cycle track on the east side of the roadway, which was also not preferred. So the preferred option was with 9 additional parking spaces, and also the preferred option was chosen because the community wanted traffic calming on this street. The often complaint was speed and all that. The speed was dropped to 25 miles per hour in, I think, May of 2023, somewhere like that. And then also the first concept also showed a raised crossing at the urban park. It's like a speed hump with a raised crosswalk on it. And you're also asked to do, if it warrants, for a flasher or a beacon of that sort, which we are still working on it. It gets to be reviewed and approved by other departments within the county. So that, and then the concept one has like a lot of traffic calming features. One is the raised crosswalk. Second is narrowing of the lanes. All the lanes are like 11-foot wide, and then you have buffered bike lanes on each side, so it gives kind of a like calming effect. And also with concept one, parking, on-street parking is created between Piney Branch and the park, Piney Branch Road on the park on both sides. So that will also have a calming effect. And then, and also there are a couple of places where concrete islands were introduced, medians, you can call it, in the middle of the road. So that will also act like a traffic calming. So that is why that was a preferred option. Let's go to the next step. So now, since we have a concept on our hand to design, so let me go through. So this was a split into two sections. The design is, the first section, of course, is between the Piney Branch and the Flower Avenue Urban Park. It will have the same lane configurations. The lane configurations are not changed. 11-foot lanes. You have like outgoing, leaving Flower Avenue at Piney Branch. You have one through with the shade right, and then left turn bay, and then incoming receiving, we have like 11-foot lanes. However, in this concept, there's parking on the roadside on either side, both sides of the street. And then, of course, followed by the buffered bike lanes, and then the 6-foot proposed sidewalk with a 5-foot brick walkway, you can call it, in between the bike lane and on the sidewalk. So with this option, the only thing which you will see in addition to what we have now is the adding of a parking lane on both sides of the street, uniformly between the park and Piney Branch Road. And the second section between the park and Arley Street has a major change. It used to be the way the lanes are marked right now from Arley Street itself, 2 lanes southbound will open up from Arley Street. So the plan, the redesign of the chosen alternate shows only 1 lane. We are doing 1 lane each side, each direction. And also there are no on-street parking, but we have used that space wisely to have standard sidewalks on either side of the street, with, of course, buffered bike lanes. And this is where the traffic calming feature comes in, so that the cars traveling south will approach Piney Branch Road at a lower speed. That's where most of the commercial activity is. That's where people are crossing at the park and at the stores, parking on one side and crossing the street and all that. So this has all the good features. The last slide is the schedule. Like I said in the previous slide, in the life of the CIP project, you have to bear that in mind that the project right now is at the 30% design, and all these design details, if you're interested, they're right here, the sheets. And also people who have gotten our flyer has the link on it. We have posted all the plans on our website, so you guys at your leisure can browse through. If you are a plan reader, you can go through the lighting, the landscaping, the other improvement, all those detail sheets are there. I think there are like 40 sheets, if I'm not mistaken, 40 sheets of paper you can review. Those are all posted on site. So as a next part, it will go to the final design and all that, going through the hoops. Like I mentioned, it will go through the review and approval by the county executive and the council. If it goes through the funding, it goes through the design and construction. So because everything is up in the air, we don't have the funding yet, so there's no date for, I can't say that when this will be completed, final design, and when this will go to the construction. So with that, I think I will also ask my consultant, Carrie, to talk briefly about the design of the project, which is now at 35% stage, 35% stage. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Again, as KB said, my name is Carrie Casto. I work for Stantec, and Uma Koda is in the back, my project engineer. As KB said, we were here in May and worked with the community, heard your concerns, your desires, your wants, your needs, and we moved forward with concept one and took comments that you had, and then we developed the 35% plans. The plan sheets out of that plan set are up here. So after the Piney Branch project has their presentation, if anybody does have specific questions, we can walk you through that. We're now progressing those 35% design plans. We're working through comments, working with county planning staff and states, utility companies, and progressing farther to go to the next stage in our design.
Thank you, Carrie. I do have a correction. I'm glad my manager, Dan, is here. I know this is not like a regular CIP project. This is a BIPA project. And I was told that these projects here, I think, has funding already for the final design and construction, which is a good news. So actually, the intent of DOT is to have these projects built with the purple line, the completion of the purple line, which is good news. So I'm sorry, I thought this was a regular CIP project. So that's the normal course of action we follow, but I didn't know that we had the funding. Purple line BIPA has several projects. The other project, Piney Branch, is also part of it. And then the Kerala Avenue and all that. So okay. With that, questions? Sure. Oh, sorry. There you go. Oh.
So one of the stated goals of the county development plan currently is increased densification within 1/4 mile of any major transit stops. If I'm reading this map correctly, the entirety of this route is within that 1/4 mile of a transit stop. How do you kind of square the county goal of densification with this? You spend more time talking about like 9 parking spots than needed about the actual bike lane.
Can you?
The county is explicitly stating its goal is to reduce parking minimums, improve densification within a 1/4 mile of a transit stop. This entire route is on a transit stop. You spend more time talking about 9 parking spots than the actual bike lane.
This particular spot, this section of Flower Avenue is very critical in terms of on-street parking spaces because of the retail and all that. So, and this was pretty much requested by the community when we first came to survey and also to get the comments from the business owners and all that.
Okay, so you keep saying community, but there's
The
only,
business owners and-
there's only like 6 houses there. Like, so you talk
No,
to
no, no,
business
no, the
owners.
Businesses,
Okay,
yeah,
but the businesses have parking lots. They all have parking lots.
they don't,
Yeah,
they don't.
all right.
They don't. Actually, to be honest with you, there
Yeah.
was even a discussion which has nothing to do with this presentation, but the demand was for the parking was as such that there was a request to have a parking garage structure built for this project, but it didn't happen. It didn't go that route. There was another agency in the county involved which were working on that, not DOT.
All right.
So there is demand. You don't see that kind of demand on Piney Branch Road, other project, but this was kind of like unique. Yeah. Yes, sir. Mike.
I have 2 questions. What is the current level of service and the projected level of service after this project?
C and D, level of service at Piney Branch and Flower, C and D.
So it's,
C in the AM and D in the PM.
and what is projected to be?
It is C right now. The projected with the scenario 1 with all the improvements is going to slip to D.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
My second question is, I see a lot of curb ramps.
Yep.
On accessing crossing driveways,
Mhm.
and curb ramps are not allowed, across driveways because the pedestrian has the right of way.
Yes.
And you're supposed to carry the sidewalk treatment across all the driveways, and you don't do that. Why?
The current design may not have that, but I think in the final plan, in the signing marking plan, which we have posted right now, I think there are a couple of driveways on Flower. We have posted warning signs for the vehicles that are coming out of the driveway to watch for. Now we have not only on pedestrians, but also cyclists, right? Now, since we are doing the cycle drag. So we have posted a joint sign, you may call it, a person crossing with a cyclist exiting the driveways.
Why don't you?
But in terms of redoing the driveways, those are all based on county standards.
The standard is that this a continuous sidewalk is required, except at where you have roadway intersections.
Yes.
But you don't provide a continuous sidewalk because it's broken up by these driveways. You're supposed to provide a continuous sidewalk treatment.
When we,
From-
yeah, when we read, we'll address that. So, right, to be honest with you, the standards right now is the driveway and the sidewalk. But I think we are looking into it because we have similar requests in Bethesda and elsewhere. So there will be standards developed for that. And then we are looking into that.
This is very important
It is very important.
because these floating, bus stops you're putting in
Yeah,
are very dangerous for pedestrians to get to and from the sidewalk and get back from the sidewalk. So when you don't have a continuous sidewalk treatment, it creates more problems.
we are looking into it. We are still at an initial stage, especially at floating bus stops. You mean from the sidewalk, crossing the bike lane, getting to the bus stop? Yes. That requires further research and maybe we need to come up with new standards. You're right.
Hey,
Susan.
Dee, I have a question.
Go ahead.
David Olson has a question.
Yeah, hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you for your presentation. I actually my house basically backs up to this project, and I ride along it every day. So I'm very much in support of getting bike lanes in there one way or another as soon as possible. So I wanted to let you know that. And then secondly, just to put it kind of on your mind, connecting bike lanes down Piney Branch to like the Tacoma area for that metro station, connecting the Purple Line to the metro station would be very valuable. for cyclists in the community as well. So I know that this is a first step, but that would be a really positive second step, in my opinion. That was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you so
David.
much for your comment. Thank you so much for your comment. Yes, this is the first step, but the next part of the presentation, you will hear about another step, how we are coming along, proposing bike lanes on Piney Branch as well, going all the way up to Sligo Creek. Thank you. Susan.
Hi, thanks. I really appreciate this project and I appreciate choosing alternative one. I continue to be interested in having trees so that there's some shade for the pedestrians in the area and careful crossways from the neighborhood into the commercial area at the various crossings, because there's an awful lot of pedestrian traffic that goes across Flower Avenue. And finally, I'm curious about the route. If you go from Piney Branch Road on the bike lanes, it's supposed to turn right onto Arliss, but if you want to get up to Plymouth or whatever, you're kind of stuck. So that segment, which is just, I guess, north of the project area, to me, is still an area to consider for continuous bike lanes. Thanks.
I agree. Now, regarding crossing from the east to west side, I think my alternate right now is showing the race crosswalk at the urban park and also another crosswalk at Arliss. So there are two crossings in the length of 1,000 feet. And then, of course, you have the crossing at Piney Branch Road. So if you add that, there are 3 crossings. So I think the race crosswalk will be popular, and all the people who don't take the risk of running mid-block everywhere, I think the sensible ones, they will use the race crosswalks. Now, regarding the bike lane and all that, after you hear the presentation of the next project and all that, yeah, it's going to take place if we add further extensions and further connections. You're right. And it's going to happen. Thank you. So since I think we are done with it, I think you guys are excited to hear about the other new presentation about Piney Branch Road. I hereby invite my colleague, Yasmin Ismaili. Oh, sorry, there is one more question, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. I came in a little late, so I'm not
That's
sure
fine.
about the design, but my concern is the bike lanes are great and all, but what concerns me is what will the effects of the traffic of those who are impatient, because there are a lot of impatient drivers going down Flower that cut through the side streets, Plymouth, Bradford, Reading. There's no sort of calming effect on those streets. I live on Reading, and people barrel down those streets. So I know for a fact drivers are going to continue to cut through. Is there any consideration for these side streets, Plymouth, Bradford, Reading, Guerin, Hartwell?
Tonight's presentation is about my project, but being part of DOT, we do have a traffic calming program. There's another division within DOT, Division of Traffic Engineering and Operations. There's a web page which talks about traffic calming on residential neighborhood streets. You can always request one. You can apply for one. So feel free to email to trafficops@montgomerycountymd.gov, and you can request one on other streets. And we will also pass on this information to the division if for the adjoining. So Plymouth, you said one, and then which was the next one? All the side streets. Definitely, since we are here tonight, we will pass on your evaluation request to the Division of Traffic Engineering for either for traffic calming or reducing the speed limit or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, nobody drives to the speed limit. I mean, they now started posting speed limit 20 first time in Montgomery County, but I think what you're requesting is some sort of a traffic calming measure like a speed humps or chicanes or whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, curb extensions and all. We will do that. Thank you. Yasmin.
I guess I'm going to introduce myself again. Good evening. Thank you all for coming in person and online. My name is Yasmin Ismaili. I work with Montgomery County Department of Transportation, Division of Transportation Engineering, and joining me tonight is Dan Sheraton, the head of the design section at MCDOT, and Jennifer Ray and Amanda Havner, our consultant from JMT. They are our project manager and project engineer for this project. The agenda, the outline of this project, we will present the following outline tonight, which includes the project overview, project schedule, design consideration for the project, conceptual design alternatives, and then we will talk about the next steps. And lastly, we will finish with the question and answers. Next slide, please. The outcome of this meeting are as follows. Share alternative concept with the community, collect comments for a preferred concept to move into 35% construction plan design, and answer any question related to the project from the community. Next slide, please. This slide has been covered in previous presentation by KB, so I'm just not going into the detail. This slide shows the location of the ongoing bike lane projects, and dashed lines show the future bike lane facilities. Next slide, please. Yes. In this slide, the highlighted in red show the limit of the Piney Branch Road Bicycle Facility project, and purple color shows the location of the Purple Line project. The project is approximately 1.2 miles from end to end and provide additional pedestrian and bicycle connectivity along Piney Branch Road, Maryland 320. The project is started at Sligo Creek Trail at the western limit to New Hampshire Avenue, Maryland 650 at the east end. The proposed bicycle facility will tie into the Purple Line project, which extends from Arliss Street to the east of the University Boulevard, Maryland 193. This project aims to improve the safety and mobility of the pedestrian and cyclists on Piney Branch Road. Next slide, please. The purpose of the Piney Branch Road bicycle facility is also to improve connectivity with the Purple Line station, which are located approximately within half a mile of the project. These stations are Manchester Place Station, Long Branch Station, and Piney Branch Road Station. The project will also improve connectivity to the existing trail network. The western limit of the project will tie into the Sligo Creek Trail, and eastern limit of the project will tie to the Northwest Branch Trail. The project is included in the county bicycle master plan and will be coordinated closely with SHA. Next one. The capital improvement project process for the transportation project is shown in this slide. You may recall this slide from the previous presentation. The project has entered phase 1 of facility planning and will proceed to phase 2 after completing this phase. And apparently we have a budget to go for the construction and final design. Next slide. This is the project schedule. This is a summary of project progress and timeline. We began the project in July 2023 and completed the concept plan by July 2024. We are now presenting public meeting to get feedback and input. We expect to finalize the preferred alternative by March 2024 and finish 35% of the construction plan by August of 2024. After that, we will submit the project to the Park and Planning for the review. The star on this slide shows our current status. And now I will turn it over to Amanda, our design consultant, to go over the consideration and typical section of the project.
Thank you. As Yasmin mentioned, my name is Amanda Havener. I am the project engineer for the Piney Branch Road Bicycle Facility Planning Project. There are a lot of design considerations that we are even starting off this project with, even though we are at that very first phase 1 of facility planning. These include, number one, providing a safe bicycle facility along the limits of our project on Piney Branch Road. That's our number one priority. We also are looking, as Yasmin mentioned, to improve and connect all of our existing trail networks, provide additional connectivity through there, and connecting to those Purple Line improvements. So the Purple Line project has bike lanes as part of their project limits on Piney Branch Road. And so we're looking to extend that facility and connect into that as well, further expanding the bicycle network in this area. A very important piece of our design consideration is the continuity of the facility type from end to end of our project. Because we have the Purple Line project in the middle of our project limits, it's important that we're not constantly switching from one side of the road to another or one facility type to another, just to make it easier for people who are using the facility from end to end, or if you're going from one trail to the other. You want it to be as easy as possible for people to navigate, and keeping that continuity along the whole project limit is really going to go a long way to do that. So while we do have, and I'll go through a bunch of our alternative typical sections, we are looking at a lot of different alternatives, but it's all going to come back together in the end with that as one of our major design considerations, is that we're not piecemealing it along as we go. Another major consideration is minimizing the impact of this project. We have limited right-of-way along Piney Branch Road. There's a lot of businesses and things that are right up close to the roadway, and we're not looking to displace anybody or majorly expand the pavement limits on the road that is already a pretty wide roadway. So as much as possible, we're looking to maintain our curb lines and see what we can do within the space and the pavement that's already out there, so that we're not just continually expanding the road out and out and out. We want to make better use of the infrastructure that we already have. And obviously, to do that, we are going to need to coordinate very closely with SHA, because this is an SHA roadway. While we are a county project and we are funded by the county, anything that we are proposing to do needs to come with the blessing from SHA, because they own the roadway. We have already begun coordination with them, and from our initial conversations, everyone is on board with the concept of the project, and then we'll just continue to coordinate with them as we get further and further through design. Other design considerations are maintaining good drainage and stormwater management for anything that we're doing, not looking to make any messes worse that might already be there, and in fact, looking to improve things as much as possible. And then finally, there are a number of bus stop locations along the roadway and along this stretch, which are marked on our plan in the back. And you are all probably very aware of where all of those are, and making sure that we're incorporating those into our design, making sure they are still easy to get to, safe to access for everyone, with all of the different modes of transportation that we're going to have along this roadway and through this project. So with those kind of big picture things in mind, along this section of road, we have kind of split it into 4 segments along the roadway. And I know I said that we were looking to keep things as consistent as possible. And then you're probably going like, why are you splitting into 4 segments then? It's because each of these segments has different characteristics along the roadway and different typical sections. So we're looking at the facility types in that specific spot. I want to show you what those typical sections might look like as the facility progresses along the project. So starting from the west end of the project, this is from Sligo Creek Parkway to Flower Avenue. We have our existing conditions on the top. We've got 2 lanes in the northbound direction, 1 lane and a turn lane coming southbound. The turn lane is kind of hit or miss where it is along there. So we have 2 concepts in this segment. The first is looking at a buffered bike lane in the northbound direction. So taking one of those 12-foot drive lanes and turning it into a 6-foot bike lane with a 6-foot buffer. And then coming southbound, actually looking at an option with a shared bus and bike lane. These have been implemented other places in the county with great effect. It's just makes good use of the roadway and would be a reasonable transition point since it is at the end of the project limits. The second concept we have is looking at buffered bike lanes, very much in line with the other projects in the area that we have on Flower Avenue and on Carroll Avenue elsewhere along the project. So looking to have 6-foot bike lanes or 5-foot bike lanes with an actual physical buffer between the bikeway and the roadway lanes. So then moving into the next segment, this is a very easy segment to go over because there really is only one concept in this segment, which is in the 1 block between Flower Avenue and Greenwood Avenue. In this section, we're really looking to do those buffered bike lanes because this section ties directly into the purple line section that has the bike lanes on either side of the roadway. So we want to keep that as consistent as possible. So then we jump to the other side of the Purple Line project. So from University Boulevard to Carroll Avenue, we've got, I believe, 2 concepts in this segment. The first is looking at a shared use path along the north side of the road. Now, this would be a switch from facility type from the bike lanes in either direction within the Purple Line section to going to a shared facility on one side. But because we have a signalized intersection right at University Boulevard, that would be a reasonable and logical place to make that switch where everyone could have the movements that they need without anybody having unnecessary interactions with different modes of traffic that would be unsafe. We would still be maintaining traffic-wise 2 lanes of traffic in either direction and that center turn lane that are in existing conditions. It's really just narrowing those up a bit and making use of the space that's already out there in the existing pavement section. The other concept that we have, you might be tired of hearing this, is buffered bike lanes, separated bike lanes. So looking at that same kind of concept, this maintains, the typical section shown here maintains the outside edge of sidewalk and the curb line that's existing and just rearranging those lanes in between to be able to fit bike lanes in both directions with the physical barrier separation and then maintaining 2 lanes of traffic in either direction. And then in our final segment from Carroll Avenue to New Hampshire Avenue, our existing typical section looks much the same. We've got 2 lanes of traffic in either direction with a center median space. And our concepts also look very similar. So our first concept in this one is a shared use path, but on the opposite side of the roadway. So similarly, because we have a signalized intersection at Carroll Avenue and we have the Carroll Avenue separated bike lane project that will be tying in at that intersection, there's going to be a lot of different things mixing and again, a reasonable and logical place to potentially have a change in facility type. So then our second concept is shared use path, but on the opposite side of the road. And these are things that we really want to get your feedback on because you are the people who live and work in this area. You know what things that we might not know about the area. And that's why we have both of these considerations in here because it could go on either side of the road. We would like to hear your thoughts on that. And then our third concept in this segment, again, separated bike lanes on either side of the road, maintaining 2 lanes of traffic in either direction. So we also have a board in the back with all of these sections on it and kind of the limits of where they are. Happy to talk through any questions and specifics that might not have been clear from this presentation. But other than that, I believe I'm going to turn it back over to Yasmin at this point to talk through next steps.
So our next step, actually, I would like to appreciate your feedback after tonight's meeting. Please share your thought with us by Wednesday, February 21st. you can use the online form on the project website or email me at my email address, yasminesmiley@montgomerycountymd.gov. After identifying the preferred alternative, we will start developing the 35% preliminary plan, along with the cost estimate and project schedule. The 35% plans will be submitted to Park and Planning Commission for mandatory review, which allow an additional round of the public comments. Then the project will be submitted to the county executive and county council for the funding approval. I guess we scratched this point since we have the fund approved for the project. Is that correct?
So, we probably have final design and see how all the other parts match out. Need to ask the construction of the vehicle. Really depend on the option, right? And the overall construction cost. So, I think you get the final design, then
Determine the cost for the construction. So this is the end of the project. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for your attention and interest in the presentation. So if you have any question, please, we can start that one with whoever has a question. Amanda, can you guys join me too? Okay.
Hi, Sergio Obadia. I know it's not part of your project, but on the western end of the project, what do you envision going down Piney Branch all the way down the DC line? I know it's not part of your project.
The question was, maybe, yeah, Jennifer, please go ahead. If you.
So the question is, what is the vision for bike lanes on Piney Branch west of Sligo Creek? And I would have to consult the master plan, a bicycle master plan. But this project and the BIPA that is funding these sub projects and other safety and pedestrian improvements do not include that scope. So we can get back to you on that. I don't have an answer this evening.
Another question. What about the Piney Branch to New Hampshire? Not Pine, is it Piney Branch University to New Hampshire Avenue? I don't know if that's west. I don't know.
I'm just moving the microphone, so this is fine. So the question is, what between University and New Hampshire Avenue? So that is part of this
Yes.
project.
So that
Amanda.
segment is part of our project, and we're looking at several different alternatives through there. Either looking to have separated bike lanes or a shared use path. I don't have a. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So let me just jump back. So from University Boulevard to Carroll Avenue, we're looking at two options. We've got either a shared use path on one side or separated bike lanes. And then once you get past Carroll Avenue, we're looking at a shared use path on either side of the road, not both. And then also the consideration for those on-road bike lanes with a buffer.
And just quickly before you do take the next question, so there are some handouts back here that are for the Flower Avenue project. The Piney Branch Road presentation will be online, so you'll be able to get all of these slides online. That handout is simply for the Flower Avenue project, and that board back there will also be online.
Thanks, Jen. I believe the gentleman.
Yeah, there was some mention of the state highway administration and that there were some potential constraints. My question is, well, first off, if it's even possible, but second off, if it was looked at to narrow this from 4 lanes to 2 lanes? Because you have on one side and the side where it is going to be 2 lanes, it rapidly goes down into DC where there's traffic calming and stop signs. And then on the other side, it dead ends into, not university, into New Hampshire. Why are we a major thoroughfare in an area that is full of local businesses? It's going to be a transit stop that is supposed to be dense. People that are coming through are only doing it to dodge major arterials. So what I would love to see in a potential design is something that puts pedestrians first. We saw in COVID that closing down lanes and opening up sidewalks, opening up more space for pedestrians and cyclists was very popular. I'd love to see that here and not a focus on cars coming through our neighborhood.
So as part of this project, which didn't get mentioned as part of the presentation, but we did have done traffic counts along the roadway and are working through the process of identifying what the impacts would be. The goal is not to really tank the level of service for vehicles through this area, but also taking that into consideration for the traffic along the roadway. Well, you can definitely bring it up with SHA. We'll see where that goes. Thank you for your comment, though.
That was funny. Is anybody here work for SHA? Want to identify themselves? No? Okay. This is kind of an SHA related question. So, we looked at these different sections, but we've missed the section from Greenwood to University, which is part of Purple Line's domain. Off the top of my head, I've looked at the Purple Line plans a billion times. I cannot remember what their plan actually looks like for that section. So if you guys could talk a little bit about what their plan is. And also we have the trail crossing there as well, which is not a part of this plan, but is important because there's the Long Branch Trail to the rec center and there's going to be tracks there and people are supposed to cross at Barron. So I guess my request or my thought too is like for future meetings and conversations, it would probably be important to have SHA represented at the meeting so that we could have a comprehensive conversation about how all of these plans are actually going to work together for the community. That would be really helpful.
SHA has to be invited.
Well,
So thanks for the comments. SHA is here listening, but it's a great comment. We'll ask to see if we can get more of an input from them at the next meeting. Again, we're at the very beginning stages, so they are interested in our concepts. We will bring to them the idea of reducing the lanes to 2 in that section between University and New Hampshire. Again, it'll be up to calculations and things like that with traffic and things like that. And whether they're willing to make that is up to them, but we can present it to them. And back to you, one of your questions was, what is the Purple Line section? I believe the Purple Line section is on-road bike lanes that with just a painted stripe buffer. So,
We have
yeah.
we have a typical section for the Purple Line on the display in the back. Mostly just to show the facility type, but their section changes along the roadway.
It sounds like it's possible that we would go from a buffered bike lane, if that was the chosen concept, to then a painted line for 5 or 6 blocks of the most busy section of the roadway. Is that correct? Okay. Lots of nods are happening if people on the Zoom are not getting that.
I want to make a comment about, I like the separated bike lanes and not the shared facility option. On many of the options that you've shown, however, you've got 5-foot wide sidewalk next to a vehicular lane. And I don't think this is a place for that. There's a lot of apartments, even going up towards New Hampshire Avenue. And I think having more than a 5-foot wide pedestrian way next to the buses and trucks going past is really important.
You wanted to say that the bike lanes would create a buffer?
Yeah, so with the proposed buffered bike lanes, the 5-foot sidewalk would actually be next to the bike lanes and that buffer.
Not among your options. See?
So the top is the existing condition.
You keep on going. See here,
She's correct on the shirt.
Okay,
but you see on the right side.
I-
Existing.
no, I also see what you're saying on the proposed conditions. Yep. And as we progress through design, we will look into seeing how much space and what ability we have to create that separation, because I agree, it is always much more comfortable to walk on facilities that are not right up against traffic.
Online as well. Amanda, yeah, I do have some questions from the virtual people, if we could hear from them. Jordan, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me? No? Uh-oh.
You're unmuted, Jordan. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes, okay. Is there any consideration for protecting those purple line bike lanes? Because, you know, if we have what, 6, 7 blocks of unprotected bike lane in the middle of this thing, I mean, that is just a complete death trap if you're trying to bike on this corridor, and it's going to tank the you know, how attractive this bike facility is going to be for anyone who, you know, doesn't want to die on Piney Branch Road. So, you know, is there any consideration for changing HSA's plan right now, or is that set in stone right now?
Good evening. So I was introduced earlier and I was in the back of the room while Amanda, as the project engineer, was presenting. My name is Jennifer Ray. I'm with JMT as well as the project manager. To answer that specific question regarding the purple line, obviously anyone who came here tonight knows it is currently under construction. What we can do through this project is simply offer those comments back, because that is a segment that is already under construction and as a separate agency's project. We certainly will provide that feedback back. As it was noted, you know, the consistency, and Amanda noted several times as well, having a consistent facility type is a preference, and we will take that comment back and share that with that project team.
Okay, thank you.
For this has already been legislated, and can we be confident that there won't be any unexpected harmful cutbacks?
So the design for this, well, there's a capital improvement project, or a PDF we have. It's called Purple Line BIPA, I think is what it is. And it has a number and it's got a budget, and all of these sub projects are coming out of that. So that's actually why one of the budgetary reasons is one of the reasons why the Piney Branch section is behind the Flower Avenue and the Carroll Avenue. They just went first. Because they were on county roads, they were maybe more easily to implement. And then just due to budget regions, we're just starting up the Piney Branch section this time. So there is money for final design on both of these projects. I believe there's going to be definitely money for final design or for construction of the Flower Avenue. And we have budgeted some money for Piney Branch, but it really is going to depend on what the option is, right? Like if we're not moving too much and we're using the existing pavement and narrowing things down, there's a possibility that we already have the money. Again, we're going to have to go through these designs and do more refined cost estimates based on our things. So there is a project and there is a budget. Now, the last question was, it's always subject to change, right? But you know, currently they are in the county executive's recommended budget. And it's, you know, the council is acting on that now. That's a 6-year budget, so we revisit it every 2 years. So there is always chance for change, either plus or minus. So stay tuned and keep coming to the meetings and keep letting your representatives know how much you like or dislike these projects.
Yeah, hi. My name's Paul. I work with the Business League, and I actually have a question that's unrelated to the bike lanes, but that would be related to it. If there's actually someone from SHA here physically present, I could talk to after this discussion. I'd like to, I've got a question about some business related stuff on 320. Great, good. But regarding this particular project, just 2 points. One is that if I actually, I think it's potentially very cool that you have such a large stretch of Piney Branch that's going to be made more accessible by bike. Since you're already going all the way down to Sligo Creek, right? That's where this starts. Is it, if you could perhaps consider pushing it down just a tiny bit further to Dale Street, where there's there's Casa La Casita and Love and Flower Bakery and these little stores there. There's a whole little commercial area there that it'd be nice if people could get there by bike and have bike facilities at each of these sort of nodes for people to hang out. I think that would be great. And particularly since indeed a lot of these places have difficulty with parking, or at least people perceive the parking as being awkward, even if there's in theory parking there. The other thing is that long experience in this area it's actually not that far of a walk from Flower Avenue or Arliss Street all the way to University, but it's a really unpleasant walk, and people rarely do it. And it's amazing. Wait, sorry, my phone was going there. And I did, of course, Rashid, I know that you've already talked about beautifying using brick and some other nicer materials for the sidewalk and adding trees along Flower Avenue. I know you're very early in the project, but if you could please consider anything you could do to enhance the pedestrian experience, not just the bike experience, but also the pedestrian experience that from Flower all the way to University. I think it'd be a terrific enhancement for that whole area. Thank you.
You guys hear me? Okay, so I think I have 2 comments. One is, can you consider extending the bike lanes along Piney Branch from Sligo west, further west to Dale? And I would say as part of this project, no. Again, we're working under this BIPA, which is looking at facilities that are within a quarter mile to a half mile of the actual station. So that's starting to get out of the walk bike shed for this particular project. But I will say that the county and the state also is working on this always. And so we have other potential projects that could, again, especially if this gets built and it's successful, and then there's, just like a logical next thing. So there are other programs, and perhaps if this gets even more funding, then that could be considered. So I would say considered at a later date that connection, though not likely in the earlier parts of this. So one of the hopes of this Purple Line BIPA that is funding this is to get these we're talking about bike tonight, but there are also pedestrian improvements that are coming out of this bucket of money. Get these improvements in place before the Purple Line opens. So again, we have a little bit of time, but it's not that much as far as our typical projects go. And then your second question was, can you improve the pedestrians experience along Flower Avenue? I believe from University Boulevard all the way from Arliss to Piney. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I got the road wrong. So from Flower to University. So again, yeah, I mean, a chunk of that is the Purple Line, and I think they are definitely improving the pedestrian appearance. Yeah, that's the whole Purple Line. Yes, I do believe they do have sidewalks on both sides, and I don't know, but we can look at the plans and get back to you on that, whether they're buffered sidewalks, which I believe they are, but again, it's their project. We can look at the plans and give you more information on that.
Hey, how you doing? I would just have a quick question. I bike as my primary mode of transportation. And oftentimes when I'm trying to get somewhere, there might be like a great protected cycle track or something like that. But then it takes me 10 minutes to find the rack to park my bike. I just wanted to ask if that's something, because that's also bike infrastructure. And I just wanted to check if that's something that y'all are actively considering during this process.
I don't think we've gotten that far along, but yeah, I mean, that's, if you want to give us comments on where you think that is needed, again, we can incorporate that detail into later, like, that's like a final design, detail. But the county also has a bikeways program, and we have, just outside of this particular project, we do have requests for that. So if you have places in the county that, would be great to have them. We're DOT, so we try to get them in the right of way, but we work with businesses, community centers like this. And so, if you have any of those suggestions, you can reach out to the team and we'll get you in touch with the right people. But if you have them specific to this project, we can certainly do that as well.
And I just want to call attention again on the online comment form. So definitely the QR code is up here on the screen, so you can grab that and put your comments in. There are some paper copies in the back. And I appreciate that comment very much, because looking at bicycling as a true transportation alternative, we can never forget that you still need to park, just as you would need to park a vehicle. So that is a great comment. And that is part of what we look at as a whole based on what makes sense within a corridor. Thank you.
And then I just thinking after I stop talking, which is I can't do both. We have to look into if the Purple Line plans at their stations and things. I hope, but I don't really know. So we can look into that too.
Lori, are there additional online comments?
There are. Let's hear from Paul Daisy.
Hi. I'm a longtime Montgomery County cyclist. I was on the Citizens Advisory Committee for the last bicycle master plan. I have questions and comments about the Piney Branch part and how it's going to interface with the Purple Line part. The first question is for the design alternative concept 1, is the shared use path one-way or two-way for bicycles? And then the second question would be in the Purple Line section, is that like the design concept 2 with separate bike lanes on each side of the road? If the design alternative 1 is only one way for bikes in the shared use path section, then I would very definitely prefer the separate bike lanes on each side of the road. And I would also prefer, if that's what's in the Purple Line section, I would prefer as a bicyclist not to have to change the right-of-way type between sections along, a 2-mile stretch of road, as I think that's unsafe. Thank you.
Thank you,
Right,
Paul.
so the proposed shared use path would be a two-way facility for bikes. So it would involve someone from those bike lanes that are on road that are kind of one-way pairs, either one way or the other, needing to transition across the street to get onto the shared use path, if the shared use path was the facility type that was chosen for that segment moving east of the Purple Line section. And the Purple Line does have bike lanes on either side of the road going the same direction as traffic. Did I answer all of those questions? Lori, are there others?
There
Shared
are.
use path.
There are others, yes. Let's hear from Jordan.
Hi, so I had another question about intersection treatments, specifically with Piney Branch and Flower, Piney Branch and University, and then Piney Branch and New Hampshire. Is MCDOT considering protected treatments for those intersections, or at least removing slip lanes? Specifically on New Hampshire, they're the kind of highway style slip lanes.
So 2 of those intersections are within the Purple Line project and are outside of our jurisdiction as far as whether they would be protected intersections. At The New Hampshire intersection, there is a separate project that SHA is looking at that would potentially reconfigure that intersection to, the goal is to remove that high-speed right slip lane from that intersection.
So that's correct. Correct. I know, I don't know where SHA is, maybe just concept level looking at, they did a road safety audit. And then one of the things is they're looking at is, okay.
Good evening. My name is Eric Lawrence with the Maryland State Highway Administration. I'm here with our Chin. She's our Assistant District Engineer for Traffic from Montgomery County. To answer the question, we have a what we call a PSAP project, Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, and that intersection is within the limits of it. That project is progressing to the design stage, and we will be looking at that high-speed free right removal. Yes.
Yeah. So these two projects, especially the Piney Branch one and the state's project, will definitely be coordinating our engineers, their designers, our teams will be coordinating throughout this process. So I'll go back to, I think we've touched 3 of the 4 intersections. So I'll go back to the 4th one, which is Piney Branch at Flower. And again, once we get farther along in the concept of what alternative we're going forward with along Piney Branch, especially at that intersection, I think we will definitely consider some sort of protected intersection, whatever that might be. I mean, again, space is tight in this corridor, so it might not be the full fledged protected intersection that would be an ideal, but we can, again, we'll be working with SHA on those details. Again, it'll follow those intersection details will follow on, when a concept is chosen. Great question.
Yeah, I do have another question from Flightus LLC. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Hi there, it's Fleitas LLC, and I represent one of the centers in that purple line area of the map. And I guess I just wanted to alert, so that way this was also taken into consideration. Some of the traffic patterns have now been changed, and tractor trailers for delivery and for businesses are being shifted now. I believe it's from University down Piney Branch. I guess that would be westbound, and turning to Arliss, down to Flower, back up Piney Branch. And I just wanted to make sure that you were taking that into consideration, since you're going to be having tractor trailers now as part of the traffic, since some of them cannot be turning left coming down Piney Branch while traveling down from University Boulevard.
Thank you for that comment. And yes, we will consider truck movements as well in our design.
Yeah, I think something asked but I either didn't catch the answer, or perhaps it was the answer was it's the line's business. The crossing from the Long Branch Trail across the road, I didn't see a treatment of that in the plans, and perhaps it's because it'd be good to see the proposed plan sort of overlaid with these potentials for a better understanding. But is that going to be addressed by your plan or by the purple line? Because that is a major thoroughfare to the community center, the library, et cetera.
So I think we addressed it in that it's not our project. So that's what's on the purple line corridor, but we'll take the comment back. And so I don't know, like I think we'll have access to the purple line plans. I don't know what the treatment is there, but we can bring it back to them again. Not to get any false hopes or anything like that. That is a project that is in construction. So whatever their plan is probably what will be built, but I don't know off the top of my head, and we can look into that.
Right. And so seeing that plan, because it's most likely going to be built and not changed with sort of how it ties in specifically to these options would be really helpful, I think.
Sure. And again, we're at the point where we're just discussing options, right? And then how that would tie in will be shown in future states as well.
And I wanted to share as well, a lot of these questions, certainly those within the Purple Line area, as we've shared, that project being under construction, we definitely will take these comments back and share with them. But some of the other questions about other tie-in points, intersections, how that's going to function. So a lot of what we really want to get out of this evening is that what that concept looks like, what's that preferred concept? Because whether it's a shared use path for one portion of it or buffered bike lanes, that's going to play a large role into how we tie in at intersections, at crossings. So that's really where a key point of this evening's conversation. Absolutely, keep bringing the comments up. Please keep bringing the questions up. But those are just by default of not knowing what that preferred concept will be as yet. We can't answer some of the other questions as yet about how the intersections will look, what other tie-in points might be, even as we head down towards Sligo Creek Parkway in that area where there's some other trail systems there. So I just wanted to share that of just kind of focusing in as well on the facility type. Absolutely bringing everything else up, because the earlier we hear the comments, the more we can take it into account and address it. Just wanted to share that as feedback as well. And we still had several questions, I believe, in the room, and I think we might still have quite a few online. And we do have our boards as well. I know we're running shorter on time. We have about half an hour or so left. So we definitely want to be able to have people go to the boards and ask additional questions on both projects.
Okay, here's one.
It's not a question, but more of a comment, because I don't know about everyone else, but this is a little bit disheartening for me that everything is siloed. Is there a way to coordinate a meeting with state, with county, and whoever else, Purple Line, HSA, whoever, in one room, so we're not stuck with, oh, that's not my domain, that's Purple Line. Oh, that's not my domain, that's state. To have one plan that has all the overlays, so we can have, coordinated comments and questions, so everyone can hear it from the different, entities or administration, whatever it is. Because sometimes I feel like the comments here, not to say anything about you all, may not be interpreted the same when it's relayed to state or relayed to Purple Line. And it's better when they hear it from the community. So it's just a suggestion of a coordinated meeting, bigger meeting.
Well, we certainly can, we will have future meetings, and we can bring that to SHA and work with them to see if that is a possibility. It makes complete sense, right? And I think there's yet a third. The third is the Purple Line, and maybe the state can talk more about that at that future meeting as well, right? Again, I don't want to give anybody false hopes. Those plans are under construction, so changing them is not likely, but everything else is on the table. So.
One more.
So I think you've asked sort of a preference between the two concepts. And, I bike down to Sligo Creek all the time on Piney Branch. I typically use the sidewalk because I'm terrified of that segment. But because I'm turning on Manchester, I have a hard time sort of picturing what that would look like under the two concepts, right? Like in the shared. And I guess I'm having trouble sort of visualizing from the presentation where the shared use would be, which side of the road. But the Manchester side is where I would take off. So it might make more sense to have that be shared use so that it's easier to get on and off Piney Branch, as opposed to having to cross the street in the middle of that segment. That's just top of mind what I'm considering, but I don't really, I'm struggling to picture it.
And certainly after, so thank you for the comment, and certainly after when we go up to the boards, Amanda could probably walk you through a little bit further of exactly in that condition, what that would look like. And that's one of the benefits as well. And for those online, you know, the presentation as well as the display board will be online as well. So you will also have that benefit. So it's not just individuals here in the room, but also online, you will have the benefit of looking at what that looks like on a plan where you can see it longitudinally. We do have now in the room, there was a key map above, and online, you probably saw it a little bit better in the room. We have a share bar, the Zoom bar at the very top, where it takes you. We did have a rectangle that followed along on those typical sections, but again, a lot of information all at once. So I think that's going to be one of those as a great one-on-one conversations. And that's also one of those key things. We certainly can walk through that on each of on the board back there of if there are specific locations that you have a question about as well. I want to just, before we maybe break out into some of those other conversations, Lori, if you can share, I see there's still a number of chats coming in. How many of those are questions versus comments? If you could just let us know and walk us through any more online questions.
Hi, Jennifer. Yes, absolutely. Actually, we don't have any questions in the chat.
Okay, great.
But it was traffic related, and so I'm going to refer that to them in the morning.
Great. And for everyone in the room as well as online, we do have all of those chats that we do take down, and we'll be able to read through them as well. So they are not lost from this meeting. So we certainly do take that into account. So with that, are there any further questions in the room?
I'll share that.
We get to see the chats too.
I believe, are they, Lori, can you answer that question of if the chats are available for the public also?
I can make it available, sure.
Maybe we can take a look at summarizing them, you know,
Yeah.
condense them down, but again, we can put it on, put it on the project website.
Sorry, yeah. I've provided, you know, a couple of links. I provided a link to, I gave the traffic op email. So, you know, a lot of these messages are not part of the conversation, really.
Yeah, we'll do some condensing and editing, and then, you know, frequently asked questions or whatever.
Last but not least, I just want to thank that I already received 20 comments on the webpage, on the project webpage for Flower Avenue. So I know the plans are extensive. Like I said, there are like 40 sheets, but take your time. And then there's online, you can submit comments. Like I said, I already received 20 comments from the residents. Thank you so much for it. And if you have further comments, I'll keep the comment date open till March 7th. Thank you.